Hey guys, how y'all doing? My name is Harmonic Chaos. Welcome back to the channel. Yeah, I haven't done an intro like that in a while. Anyways, it is, very much what it is. So, there's this relatively small, kind of unknown artist, who's kind of blown up just relatively, recently, probably in the last few months or so. He's new to the scene. What's his name again? It's from somewhere in the South. He's really on the cusp of breaking out and, really making a name for himself. What is his name? Right. Brandon Lake. So one thing that I absolutely love about Brandon and his music and his ministry overall is that even though he's had like this almost unmatched success, he doesn't let it go to his head. He's still on staff at his home church as a worship leader. He still leads worship at his church, and he still attends regularly when he's not on tour. He makes it very clear that, even though he technically, yes, he is the one on stage, being the face of worship at the church, that his mindset behind it all isn't, look at me, look at how great I am, look at all these things that I'm doing. It's very much, no. Look at God. I'm just here, but God's the one that's doing everything. I'm just the one that's just so happens to be standing on stage. And all the praise that's happening in the room isn't for him, it's for God, and he's just there facilitating the connection between God and his people, which cannot be said about all worship leaders or worship pastors. Some of them let it go to their heads. Some of them let the praise and the adoration go to their heads instead of where it should be going. And it was refreshing to see and to hear, Brandon very clearly say, no, that's not what this is about. And he reiterated, a worship leader has two jobs: to worship God and to help facilitate the connection between the congregation and God. And it's true. Like, if you're doing those two things, you're being a worship leader, and if you are doing anything else, you should probably reevaluate. So the whole origin of Brandon's career is actually a really cool story. So he's actually what's wow, that's a hard word to say. I'm not even gonna try. What's commonly known as a PK. Colloquial, whatever. That word's gonna bother me that I can't say it.
Colloquialism.
So difficult. I can say it in normal conversation, but it's because I'm sitting in front of a camera that I just can't say it. Anyways, I digress. But Brandon, growing up, his dad was a pastor. He's a pastor's kid, abbreviated PK. Which actually, it's really funny because I heard it said by a comedian, and it's actually pretty true, that pastors' kids, they go one of two directions, either full-time ministry or prison. And that really is pretty much the dichotomy of the group. Obviously, there are some nuances in there, but it's honestly it's not horribly inaccurate. It's a very interesting phenomenon that happens, really. But anyway, so being, that he was the son of a pastor, he was always in proximity with, the behind the scenes worship, all that sort of stuff at church. And he actually started leading when he was 15. In an interview that he did with a radio station called 99.1 Joy FM, he actually said that the first time that he led, he hated it. He hated being on stage, hated everybody looking at him, and everything associated with it. He said that he quite literally felt naked up on stage. Just that everybody was just staring at him, and he hated it. And it actually, he maintained that opinion until he saw people connecting to God through music, that he was he kind of came to terms with what it meant to be a worship leader. And then that feeling started to fade. And he actually makes a really, really good point about giftings in that same interview.
I think a lot of times we look for a sign from God in the sky, or to smack us right in the face, but it's often through his people that he affirms the gift on your life. And that's how it came about for me. It was listening to my friends and my mentors, and they're like, hey, I think you really need to step into this. I think God's given you a voice for a reason. So
Brandon has this very unique sound in the, Christian / worship music genre, which, if I'm being completely honest, a little bit of variety and a little bit of uniqueness in that genre is very, very much needed. I don't know about you, but for a good little while there, every time that I heard a Christian song, they all sounded relatively the same. It was the same chord progression, the same instrumentation, the same pretty much everything, the same formula behind every single song. Obviously, yes, there were outliers, but the vast majority of them were just, it seemed like someone just did control paste, just someone copy pasted, changed a little bit, and then like, cool, the next big hit. And that's kind of how it felt for a while. And honestly, that kind of changed when Phil Wickham started. I feel like his like career and, you know, his introduction to the scene started the shift away from that very formulaic copy paste type music. And in that same interview, Brandon said that his early music
is the person I probably imitated more than anyone. And so when I got a hold of his record around the time like Cannons came out, I was like, man, I want to try to write songs like that. And so I'd write down my own words and what I wanted to say to the Lord, but try to make him sound like Phil. Yeah, so he's been a huge example and mentor to me over the years.
Which it can be seen. They're not one-to-one copies, or like, you know, very like, they're not like, if you squint and tilt your head a little bit, like they don't look like the same song, but the inspiration and the source of the inspiration is very, very like apparent. In 2015, Brandon actually crowdfunded his first studio album. He set out to raise $23,000 to get the first studio album of his, you know, produced and released, I believe, and all of that. And he actually raised just a little bit over that. So he was able in 2016 to release his debut album, Closer. And then 3 years later, after that release, he signed with the Bethel Music. And speaking of Bethel, when he was leading with them on their Victory tour, he met Tasha Cobbs Leonard. The reason that I bring that up is because the first time that I was actually introduced to Brandon Lake's music was his cover of Tasha's song, This Is a Move, which was his first charting song. The next little bit of the video is going to seem like a little bit of a scatterbrain because there's a whole lot that I was covering and trying to like jigsaw it into some timeline that made sense, even though it's like this happened and then this happened and this happened and this thing is not really related, it happened also too. And it's like, it was a lot to try and like piece together, but bear with me. But I feel like things really started to accelerate for Brandon in his career was when he started working with Elevation Worship. And his inaugural project with them was Graves into Gardens, which again was a huge song. It was like literally everywhere, and it still kind of is everywhere. So not only was it huge in its day, it had a lot of lasting power. And that was his first chart topper. And he also has worked with Maverick City, another massive entity in the Christian music space. He worked with them on their Talking to Jesus project. Again, another massive hit. And then he and the Bethel team worked on Too Good to Not Believe, which again is a massive song. And he also worked with like the Christian music legend Chris Tomlin on I See You. Now, all of the, like, I like a lot of those songs, don't get me wrong, but the songs that really kind of grab my attention from Brandon are, if you can believe it or not, his more rock style songs. And I mean, if you've seen any video on my channel, barring like maybe 30, you can kind of tell that I like rock music like just a little bit, you know? And more recently, he has started to use a lot more like rock inspiration and rock elements in his songs. This started around 2021 when he released his song, I Need a Ghost. Since then, he's consistently used more and more rock elements in his songs. You know, in songs like Lion, Count 'Em, That's Who I Praise, and his newest single, which is honestly probably one of my top 3 songs right now, like regardless of genre or anything like that, top 3 songs right now is Hard Fought Hallelujah. And man, is that a good song. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. So not only is that like one of my top 3 songs, it's my favorite song by Brandon by like a mile, not even close. Lion is second, but like I said, not even close. Which, you know, it's funny because at the time of the interview, because I believe this happened, I think he gave the interview in 2023 or early 2024. I don't remember entirely. But this was right after, or very closely after, he released Gratitude, which again is I should just stop saying this, stop giving the qualifier, because it's just safe to assume that any song that he's released is massive. But Gratitude, it's also another really great song by him. If you haven't heard it, please go listen to it. But anyways, he was asked about the song Gratitude in the interview, and he actually came to admit that that song almost didn't make the cut for the record or to be released in general. You know, he said that initially he wanted to make it like a church song, which basically, you know, for those of you who don't know, a church song is basically a song that can be sung, like is kind of made to be sung on a Sunday morning in church. And when he got the finished product back from his producer, he was, you know, listening to it and he absolutely did not like it. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I can kind of imagine what that would sound like for that song. And I agree. I don't think I would have liked it either, because there's a whole like sound and uniqueness and like elements and stuff that go along with a Sunday like a Sunday song, that I feel like if he had gone that route, it would have robbed Gratitude of its like emotional power, essentially. So when he got it back and he didn't like it, it went through many iterations of him and his producer like trying to make it work, trying to figure things out, just trying to this and that to make it work. And like at a certain point, he just said, you know what, I'm gonna grab my acoustic guitar, I'm gonna grab a mic, and I'm just gonna sit down, play the guitar, and sing, and we're just gonna see what that sounds like. So then once they did that, that laid the very firm foundation of this is where this song needs to go. So they took that direction and then they ran with it. And the producer, I forget, he said who the producer was, and I cannot remember who it is off the top of my head, but he built the track around the fundamental idea of the acoustic and the vocals need to be up at the top and it does not need to be complicated. And then you go and you listen to the song now, and I'm personally so glad that they stripped everything away and they kept it as simple and just as raw as possible, because that really is what gives the song its power, which now obviously is the song that we know today as Gratitude. So actually I got to see Brandon perform live earlier in 2024. I got to see him perform live at I think it was the finale show of his Tear Off the Roof tour. And man, oh man, if you have the opportunity to see Brandon on one of his tours perform live, please do yourself a favor and go do it. It is such a good show. Like it's like words can't even describe how good of a show it is. Like that's something that you have to experience in person. So please go do it. But it was actually, so not only was it the finale show of his tour, but it was also the stop of the tour that went through his hometown. And yeah, like the venue was awesome. But he joked because, you know, he's like, yeah, Tear Off the Roof, but this place doesn't have a roof, because it was like an outdoor, not quite an amphitheater, but it was like a outdoor, like open roofed stadium. So it was like, it was really, really cool. But yeah, so I got to see him perform there, and it was like so cool. If I can find any of the clips that I took from the show, I will play them here. If not, I think I might have had to delete them for memory storage space on my phone. But you know, all in all, the whole point of this video, I guess, probably not, is that Brandon, he seems like someone that I would love to just sit down and be able to have a conversation with. Yeah, I mean, he just seems just genuine, down to earth, and it just seems like a person that would be really fun to just have a conversation with. Like, I would be really fascinated to pick his brain about music and production and all that sort of stuff, because that's immediately where my brain goes. But also, just would be cool to just sit down and talk to him and be like, like, outside of the music, outside of everything, what has your life been like? Like, I don't know. Because I feel like a lot of times in interviews, most people only ever talk about, you know, career, not like, how are you or who are you as a person? But I don't know. It just seems like it'd be really fun to sit down and be able to have a conversation with him. So Brandon, if you somehow happen to see this, love to sit down, have a conversation. But yeah, so with all that being said, my name has been Harmonic Chaos, and I hope you have absolutely all enjoyed. If there's another artist that you would like me to give a brief recap of their entire careers, which seems to just be what I'm doing on this channel right now, feel free to drop it in the comment section down below. If there's any other topic that you would like me to talk about, really anything music related or even not music related, if there's something that you would like an audio engineer's perspective on, I guess, feel free to drop it in the comment section down below as well. And I'll catch y'all next time. God bless.